I know some people as well where their parents created, I mean, not a Panda Express scale company, but they created a good company that makes
Yeah.
good money, provides for the family. They didn't really do anything. Like they kind of just messed around a bit, but then like in their mid to late 20s, they finally come
Thomas. They're trying to just find themselves. Okay, they're trying to find their inner artist. Okay, they just become TikTokers. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Yellow Kings podcast. We have a super exciting episode coming up in which we're going to be going through a list of Asian companies and founders that we personally find very interesting. We cover companies such as DoorDash, Panda Express. We talk a little about Forever 21 and Mendocino Farms. We're also going to talk about our thoughts on rich kids inheriting companies from their parents and also our thoughts on technology in Asian companies. But before we get into it, I have a quick announcement. This is my last week in this room right here. I've been living at home for 3.5 years since COVID started, and I'm moving to New York next week. So you guys will see me in a very new environment very soon. I know we're all very sad that we're not going to have this beautiful background anymore. If you guys just listening to it on Spotify, just imagine the most beautiful high school bedroom background you can ever imagine. But I'll make that quick announcement. It's a pretty big move at this point in my life to move over from the West Coast to East Coast, and I'm very excited to make that happen. But enough about me. Let's get into the podcast. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Peace. How's it going for you this week?
You know, it's been going well. I kind of in the spirit of entrepreneurship. I have a lot of different things going. For those of you that don't know, I can't call myself a founder because I feel like to be a founder, you actually need to have something successful. I've had nothing but flops and failures, so I call myself an aspiring founder. And as of right now, just like throwing a lot of things at the wall, throwing spaghetti on the wall, seeing what sticks. So it's kind of crazy. A lot of different things, a lot of context switching right now, a lot of projects going on. But you know, this is part of the process. So I'm learning to love the process. And in that note, it's going pretty well then.
Yeah, learning to love the process. That's it's like your daily motivational quotes. Be like, guys, it's about the process, not the end goal. You gotta love the journey to the top, right?
Yeah, but then you're like, but an end goal of at least having like $1 million exit's like kind of dope too. So we'll talk about that later.
So I guess it's about the process, but end goal is pretty cool too. If we can just get there faster, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
But anyways, today we want to talk about, like I said, different Asian founders that we find very interesting. And we actually had this article on medium.com, and it was actually written by Dave Liu, in which he basically covers almost all Silicon Valley healthcare, I think some consumer finance products as well, that were, I will say not necessarily founded, but at least co-founded by like Asian Americans. Particular, this list mostly includes like Eastern Asian Americans. He did mention at the bottom of the article that there's also a lot of South Asian founders, but they just weren't included on this list. But do you know who Dave Liu is, by the way? Dave Liu. He's on LinkedIn.
So familiar.
He's on LinkedIn.
So familiar.
So I know he's pretty big on LinkedIn, and actually like I think it's kind of funny. This is like totally like unrelated, but he started a company. I think it was called Paired or something. It was like something within the restaurant industry, and one of my college roommates actually worked at that company. It was like a startup.
Oh, that's cool.
It actually ended up going under because like it was in the restaurant business and COVID hit, so it just completely like wiped it out. But I just thought that was interesting. So just looking at this list, who are some names that you think are interesting?
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, let me pull up the list really quickly. I don't have it open immediately.
Well, I guess I could start first. Obviously, I think the first one that I noticed is DoorDash, Tony Xu, Stanley Tang, Andy Fang. And funny backstory. So when I was in college, I had my last quarter of college, I basically had it off. I didn't have any classes. And instead of taking a break my last quarter in university before I started my investment banking job, I decided a genius idea was to study and take the GMAT and apply for grad school. Because I don't know if you guys out there know, there are these deferred programs for grad school in which you can basically apply when you're still a senior in college to like Columbia, Yale, I think Stanford, Harvard had those too. And then you could basically work 2 years out of college and then go immediately to like MBA grad school afterwards. So I decided in my final year at university, something I do not recommend anyone else to do, to not take a break, but instead spend a couple months studying, prepping for a GMAT, taking a GMAT, and then applying to grad school. But the reason I'm saying this is just because like on my grad school application, one of the questions was like, who is like an inspirational guide for you that you aspire to be like? And I actually wrote about Tony Xu from the CEO of DoorDash. So
Nice.
I actually think he has a pretty interesting story. He's obviously he started DoorDash, and DoorDash actually started out apparently like at that point their only main competitors was like back in 2012 was Seamless and Grubhub. And what made DoorDash stand out was they were one of the first food delivery companies to offer logistics services. So like people to actually deliver the food on the restaurant's behalf. Because before apparently Seamless and Grubhub, they're only act as platforms for people to order food, but then the restaurants still had to go out their way and deliver the food themselves. But DoorDash like gave them the delivery man to help them do that, which like led to like their very expansive growth very quickly. Because all these restaurants will sign on and be like, yeah, we don't have courier services to people to deliver the food for us, but DoorDash, you know, they have drivers and stuff. Yeah. And then they obviously started out like first in the Palo Alto community. Like it's the name started out as like Palo Alto Delivery or something like that. And then Tony Xu used to drive the food himself to different from restaurants to houses.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool because I think they had a different strategy, at least from what I remember, is the fact that they, while a lot of other meal delivery, food delivery services focused on really dense urban areas, DoorDash went for the suburbs first, and that's actually how they kind of grew, just because like these are unforgotten areas that a lot of people were not competing in, so they dominated those spaces, got super efficient, and then they were able to dominate then like the more urban areas. And actually looking at this blog post, I actually wanted to bring this up, but it's cool that I see Dave Liu. I guess he's also maybe a partner at Hyphen Capital, and I think Hyphen Capital is so cool just because it's basically a bunch of Asian American founders or like investors, and I think they invest in Asian American founders as well. So I think that's like such an awesome mission. And I think what's interesting is like, so some of these companies you see like YouTube, DoorDash, Twitch, Panda Express and stuff like that, like you see, or even Zoom as well, you kind of know like, oh yeah, they have Asian founders, you know, but I guess some of them are more surprising, right? For example, like Pinterest, Snapchat, Peloton, you never hear about them.
That's weird.
You never hear about these Asian founders because most of these Asian founders are probably like the CTO, not the CEO. So it's like
they probably are.
No, like I'm not even joking. It's like I'm 99%. Like I'm pretty sure the vast majority of them are CTOs, and they just don't get that same like claim to fame as all the CEOs do. You know, for example, like LinkedIn CEOs not Asian, Snapchat not Asian, Pinterest not, or like the famous founder that gets all the recognition is not the Asian one. You know. So I think it's an interesting thing to notice, saying like these big companies, like there are other people that are still co-founders in it, but they just don't get all the fame. Maybe that's out of their own choice as well, because they like to be behind the scenes, you know, but I'm sure that at the same time, it's also like the media focuses on XYZ person, like the CEO. And I guess typically the CEO is not Asian or something. You never know. But actually my favorite company, which is founded by an Asian person, not Asian American, because it's not an American company, is Canva. Canva is, it's an incredibly underrated company because it is so good at what it does. Everyone talks about Figma, everyone talks about Adobe, but nobody takes a look at Canva. Let's see. And Canva's latest valuation, they're worth more than Figma. They're worth $40 billion in 2021, but nobody talks about them.
Yeah, shout out to the Aussies.
It's also female Australian Asian founder, and she is just ice cold, crushing it. And I absolutely love Canva as a company. It's a phenomenal product. Love their story, and love the fact that the founder is also an Asian Australian woman as well.
It was such a simple idea too. Like when you think about Canva and you go onto the platform, it's nothing crazy in my opinion. Whereas but everything is so intuitive and so simple to use, and that was like the genius of it. And it was so specifically served to like the market of budding entrepreneurs, which they kind of caught to a trend where everyone wants to start online businesses, and Canva just happened to be there, right time, right place to capture that market. Because you use Canva, I subscribe to Canva, and most of the time I just go on Canva, and like when I first started drop shipping, I need to make logos or whatever it was I need to make. First place I went, Canva. Yellow Kings podcast logo, Canva. Everything I just like naturally, I'm just like, I'm going to Canva because where else would I go? I guess in the past you use Paint or maybe pay someone on Fiverr, but now it's like you go on there, you take a couple photos, couple templates they have already, and everything looks nice. And to be completely honest, when you're starting out as like an entrepreneur or a small business, you don't need to pay some crazy brand designer like aesthetics, like here's your color scheme and stuff. No, we need a logo and we need a product, and we just need something that looks somewhat legit, and Canva does that for you.
One of my biggest red flags as an entrepreneur. Well, you know, the thing is, I can't even call myself an entrepreneur. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur.
Give yourself credit. No, we're entrepreneurs, Thomas. Give yourself credit.
I think I can only confidently say that if I can actually have something that makes like $100 a month. So I cannot call myself that for now, but I'm cool with others do. But one of the biggest red flags is if I'm meeting another entrepreneur and then when I'm talking about like, hey, when I ask them like, hey, how's your company? Like, tell me some more details about it. And then they brag about their logo. And like, cause there's this one dude that I met and he's like, yeah, this is our logo. Paid a sick designer to make this for me. And I was like, yeah, that's a red flag for me. They're like, if you're that early, you're paying for a logo. It's like, dude, that's not important right now. Like, you got to focus on a product. Maybe I'm wrong. Obviously I'm not a successful founder, but that is at least my 2 cents. I'm like, why are you focusing on that? There's so many other things that you should be focusing on outside of a logo.
I think that's 100% valid. Like, we don't need to have seen successful companies or built one ourselves to like say that. Because number one, everyone that has built successful companies says that. And number two, you and I don't know about you, I've done that myself. When I was building out my different e-commerce stores, like I would spend way too much time on the website design, making everything look nice, and be like, it's not ready to launch it because this is not perfect. When people come here, they're not going to think it's legit. They're not going to see it. The reality is, when it comes to your website, when they want to buy it from the store, they're looking at 2 things. Number one, this store give me red flags. It doesn't need to look beautiful. It just needs to look not sketchy. And number two, do I actually want what you're selling? If they don't even want what you're selling, it doesn't matter how nice your store looks. Pure end of story. So I agree. And another red flag that I see a lot of times when I'm talking like other like, I guess like aspiring entrepreneurs, like again, I'm not saying I'm a successful entrepreneur by any means, but when I speak to other people, like one thing that I hear a lot, it's like, we're working on like making everything like beautifying it. Like we're trying to perfect everything before we launch the product. I'm just like, just launch it, dude. Like just launch it.
Yeah.
Is it in a place where it's 70% there? If it is, just launch it. I get it. If it's not there, it's not there. Like, make it work. But when you're paying like thousands of dollars to designers and people to come in and like make everything nice, when you already think about user experience before you even have your first user, I'm like, don't think so much about user experience. Like, you need to get users first before it be like, all right, how can I optimize conversions, right? What does my conversion rate optimization looks like? But I agree.
Dude, so out of these companies, one company I want to talk about is Panda Express. Because really, if you think about it, I think
I want to talk about that one too.
We got to go into Panda Express because if you think about probably the most famous, the first and most famous Asian founded company in the US, it has to be Panda Express. I think Panda Express gets a bad rep amongst Chinese people, the Asian community in general, saying like, it's not real Chinese food, blah, blah, blah. And you're right. Is it authentic Chinese food? No. But you can't knock the fact that it was founded by real Chinese people, like Chinese American immigrants who created the food on their own and grew it to a gigantic corporation. And what's so crazy about this? Do you know what their revenue was in 2022?
No, definitely like, I'll say hundreds of billions.
All right, not 100 billion, but chill, buddy. I mean, I know you want to represent the mainland or the motherland, but calm down, buddy. It was $4.5 billion last year. So if you apply like a 2x ARR valuation, that's like nearly a $10 billion company. And I think they've also been asked multiple times, are you ever going to take the company public? And they said, no, we will never take the company public. This is going to be a super well-run private company that we will hand down generation to generation within our family. And I think we got to give respect to Panda Express. But I want to hear from your take as a Taiwanese American. What is your thoughts about Panda Express? Love it, hate it, mixed feelings? Tell me.
I love Panda Express. All right. Panda Express, it's not real Chinese food. But if you ask any Asian person, in America, no one ever says, I fucking hate Panda Express. That's not authentic Chinese food. Yeah, we know it's not authentic Chinese food. No one ever said it was. When I want to eat Chinese food, I go to a Chinese restaurant. When I want to eat Panda Express, I go to Panda Express, okay? Orange chicken is like, fucking good.
No, I agree. It's like Chipotle. I don't go to Chipotle when I want to eat Mexican food. I want to go to Chipotle
Taco
to
Bell,
eat Chipotle.
You know?
Chipotle, oh my God. Like Chipotle is its own food category. It's not Mexican food. It's just purely Chipotle. Same thing with Panda Express. Panda Express is not Chinese food, or it's Chinese inspired food, but at the end of it, it's Panda Express. It has carved its own category in that space. One question that I do want to have for you, this is just something I read where I mentioned that they have no plans to take the company public. They want to keep it private, and they want to keep it within the family. They want to pass it down within the family. Now, I think that this is really common in Asia, where the successor to the company is not always the most qualified person, but rather it's a familial thing. What are your thoughts on that, about passing a company down the family versus keeping it or passing it on to the most qualified, most dedicated and loyal employee? What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I mean, but first off, I just want to say I am in no capacity qualified to talk about this at all. But I think that's a horrible idea, because sometimes the person you're passing it to, all right, you and I have both seen, you went to Dartmouth, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you have rich parents and rich parents have kids. All right. And then the kids, they grow up with everything they ever wanted. They get the best education, right? They have tutors that help them through school and stuff. And then they get into great universities. They're very well accredited. But I feel like a lot of times kids of rich parents never learn to work hard. Not all of them, but a good amount of them.
Yeah, fair.
And it's this, I feel like there's a certain level of caliber and kind of grind and dirt you need to go through in order to become a person that can run like these like massive companies. That I feel like a lot of times rich kids, again, I'm not saying all of them, but sometimes the best idea isn't to pass it on to them. It is to pass it on to the most qualified person, but you can give all the equity to your kids. But I just don't think they should be running it if they're not qualified. That's my 2 cents. Because I've seen rich kids. I'm pretty sure you've seen rich kids too. That I'm just like, dude, I don't think you're ready to run your parents' company.
Yeah.
For lack of better word.
I totally agree. I mean, look, I don't want to, like, I know some people as well where like their parents created not a Panda Express scale company, but they created a good company that makes good money, provides for the family. And they kind of didn't really do anything. Like they kind of just messed around a bit, but then like in their mid to late 20s, they
Thomas, they're trying to just find themselves. Okay. They're trying to find their inner artist. Okay. They just become TikTokers.
Honestly.
Like us.
But then, and then it's like, then they come around eventually to be like, okay, now I'm ready to take the family company. And then they just start coming in, learning the ropes. And, you know, I'm sure that the employees at the company who have been there, dedicated, loyal for years and years and years, if I was one of the employees, I would feel really upset and annoyed at the whole situation, being like, dude, I've been working for you for 20 years and I'm not your successor. And yet your child who has never really worked here up until like they were 30 years old, 35 years old, now they're going to come in and take things over. It seems a bit unfair, but at the same time, I actually think this idea of passing the company down I feel like it's such an Asian thing, you know, because, you know, the whole idea of family, loyalty, that whole dedication, and just thinking of the group, the family as a one unit, you know, I totally understand the appeal of it. And I'll be honest, it'll be hard if I ever get to that level. I can see it being really hard not wanting to give something down to my own child as well. So
I was going to ask you that. Like, would you do the same? If your kid was unqualified in your eyes and you know it's unqualified, would you have passed the company down to him? Let's say you built like this like crazy SaaS tool that's like, you found it in Google and then your kid's like a scumbag.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. It's easy for me to say absolutely not when I don't have a child and like they don't exist, you know, but I think it'll be much, much harder if you actually do have a kid and like they're real, you see them and you want to make sure that you want to set them up for success. I get why they do it. I get the appeal of doing that. I will be happy if I ever get to the point in my life where I get to be able to make that decision. But for now, I can pretty confidently say no. I mean, obviously, if they want to work there and actually like prove themselves, more than happy to do that. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
No.
Let's talk about some more fun, interesting brands on this list as well. Huifeng Foods, sriracha sauce, David Tran.
Oh,
Shout
yeah.
to that guy. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that just killed it and just created culture out of hot sauce. Like that's
Actually,
one of them.
Yeah.
Here's one that I actually didn't expect, which kind of makes sense to me now that, because I eat at the restaurant. Mendocino Farms. Mendel Farms. You ever had that before?
Whoa. That's actually kind of crazy. I did not expect that. Yeah.
But all right, sure. I don't want to say something right, but you walk in a place, it's like, it's the whitest shit ever, dude.
Yeah.
But I was surprised
For the record, it's delicious.
It's
I
delicious.
love Mendocino Farms.
But it makes sense because they have all Asian fusion in there. When you go to Mendel Farms, right?
Yeah.
But I will say something about Mendel Farms. It was like something everyone loved eating in the financial district in San Francisco. And all my coworkers always want to be like, hey, man, you want to get Mendel Farms today? I'm just like, no, I don't want to pay $20 for a fucking salad that's like this big, Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather not. But everyone goes there. And it's like, I don't know, it's like a thing to go to work in SF and go to Mendel Farms and get like overpriced salads and sandwiches. I mean, you ever been to a Mixed?
I know Mixed. Yeah. Mixed is good.
Mixed is
I like
good,
Mixed.
but I'm just like, every time I go there, I'm like, why am I spending $20 on vegetables? It never felt good to eat there.
I agree. It hurts. It's
Maybe
like, you feel
maybe it's the poor man in me that thinks that way, but like
Oh my God.
I got from my mom when I go buy mix for $20. I'm just like, what am I buying here? Yeah, I guess you're giving me good meat, good vegetables, and we're in SF. The price is justified, but at the same time, I just go to Chinatown and I get a bowl of noodles for like $10. And that's what you should end up doing.
unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's another interesting one. Forever 21. They're like straight up Korean founders. I didn't expect that
Great.
one.
Oh, I actually knew that they were Korean founders.
I didn't know
but
that.
I think, like they grew to like a gigantic. I mean, I think Forever 21 obviously has like it's past its prime. I think it filed for like bankruptcy a couple of years ago, and I would, I think like Shein has overtaken what Shein
Everyone.
is the 21st century version of Forever 21, where they're on a different level right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever shop at Forever 21?
Yes, a little bit because they had a small guys section, but
Yeah, I shopped there too.
I'll say it. Yeah.
I used to buy. I bought this sweater there when I was in high school. It was the coolest jacket I ever got. Basically, it was like a zip up hoodie, and then
Yeah.
the two lines. Like, I don't know what you call those. The pulley strings.
The
The drawstrings. They were earbuds.
Oh,
They were earbuds.
what?
Yeah. And then you put they have like a little pocket for like your iPod, back when like iPhones weren't that big yet.
Yeah.
You can put your iPod Nano in your sweater pocket, and then you could listen to music with drawstrings. The only fucking problem was the moment you wash it, it breaks.
Oh,
So it's like, what was the point, dude? Like, you can't even, once you wash it, it just broke. So it's like, it didn't even work anymore. So now you just have two dangling earbuds on your drawstrings that does nothing.
I'll say this. I think that I could be wrong about this. So people in the comments, don't get mad at me, or feel free to get mad at me. Give us engagement. We'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I think that in general, this is for speaking for Koreans. I feel like a lot of Korean companies, they're not always the best at being the most innovative. Like they create the new things. I think they're not the best at going from 0 to 1, creating something brand new out of completely nothing. But I think they're really good at going from 1 to 100, like taking that base thing that exists and improving the living hell out of it like crazy. Like, for example, did Samsung create the very first like really popular smartphone? No, like Apple did that. But I really respect. I'm a proud iPhone user. I haven't used an Android device in years. Like, I'm Apple everything. But I respect how Samsung is not afraid to really go crazy with their phones and do some wild shit. Like the foldable phones, I want one really bad. Like the minute Apple comes out with a foldable phone, oh my God, I will spend a disgusting amount of money on that. Just take my wallet is ready to buy that foldable phone. But yeah, so just in general, I respect how the like Samsung, the LGs of the world, or even like Kia and Hyundai, they didn't make the first popular electric car, but their latest electric car offerings, they're crushing it. They're doing well, pushing the boundaries, like really innovating really well. So that's my stereotype of Korean companies. Obviously, it's not that deep. Don't flame me too hard, but that's just what I've seen
Dude.
Throughout life.
You want to talk about Chinese companies?
Hit me.
It could just be an Asian thing where it's like we jack everything from the West, and it's like, all right, we're just going to mimic and copy it and then make it better. Because, okay, let's talk about these Chinese companies. Okay, Baidu, it's like the Google of China. Youku and like a couple other platforms, they're kind of like the YouTube of China and stuff. They basically just took everything that worked well in the States and then replicated for the Chinese economy, for the Chinese population. But what I think is very interesting about like Chinese tech nowadays, I think 10 years ago, when you talk about Chinese technology, Chinese products, everyone thinks about like, oh, cheaply made, look at this trash product, like, oh, this doesn't even work half like of its capacity. But nowadays, when something like you're like, oh, this is like a Chinese tech, it's not 100% there yet, but it's definitely inching towards like, oh, that means it's probably like pretty well made, pretty high tech. Like, I look at the TV I have in this Airbnb right now. It's made by this brand called TCL. It's so fucking cheap. It's like $300 on Amazon, but it's 55 inch. It's a smart TV. It can play Amazon Prime, Netflix. The speakers are well made. It's not $1,000 TV, but for $300, you're getting a steal. I think Chinese people or Asian people in general, we take what has worked well in the States, and then obviously like the stereotype is we make it for cheaper and we make it more of it and stuff. But I think nowadays Chinese tech, Asian tech has become a place where it's like we make it cheaper and we can also make it better. And I think that's why like we have the whole trade wars going on. It's kind of a scary concept to fathom. It's just like they can kind of do what we do very well in the States now, if not better. Because just look at WeChat, right? Like the whole China is basically a cashless economy at this point. You cannot pay cash in China anymore. Everything is done through Alipay or WeChat Pay.
I love that.
You go there, you need to sign up for these apps, or else you can't buy anything. All the street stands is all done through like their version of like Cash App, Square Cash, Venmo, etc. You don't pay cash anymore. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that, and I think it's funny because I think just in general the Asian work culture is way more intense. Like the whole concept of 996.
996, baby.
996. For those of you that don't know, 996 is like. I think it's mostly about China work culture, but then I also think it applies to East Asia in general, at least from like a Korean perspective. I think it's pretty relevant as well. 996 is basically working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. That's what 996 is. But I think it's kind of just wrapping up this topic about like American versus like Chinese, like American versus Asian companies in general. I think it's funny because I think Facebook gets a lot of heat saying, "Oh my God, they just copy all their features. Their product development department is Snapchat." You know, like which totally to be fair, and Facebook definitely copies a lot of things from Snapchat. But I think that what I've heard is that Asian companies like you think Facebook's bad and egregious at copying. Yo, look at any two Asian companies that are battling with each other. At least Facebook, like if Snapchat launches a new feature, Facebook at least takes like a couple months to build it out. What I've heard from other people is that if you go to Asia, if company A and company B are competing and company B comes out with a new feature, company A comes out with the same feature within 1 week just because they're like that much more cutthroat and competitive about it. So, it's pretty intense over there.
It's what works. And it's like Taobao. So Taobao is like... So China has a couple of like their e-commerce Amazon stores. So Taobao is one of them, and they're the ones to popularize live shopping, where people go live on camera and basically sell products. Right? Douyin, basically the Chinese TikTok or the OG TikTok, as some will call it. They took it and they took it to the moon. They're like, oh cool, we're gonna take this live shopping shit. And live shopping right now in China, it's like one of the biggest ways to shop online nowadays. Like it's just like everyone does live shopping. I won't say it's like the only way, but it's like it's still slowly being adapted in America, TikTok live shopping. But in China, it's like $1 billion economy. Like it's very, very well integrated with the customers, the merchants. There are like a bajillion agencies that train people to how to go live on TikTok and how to sell products.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm gonna announce that 996. Quick joke about that. When I first heard about 996, I was like, "Yo, guys, why is this so crazy? It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week."
That's it, bro.
That's it, bro. I'm like, yo. I was like, my cocky ass was like, yeah, investment banking. I work to 12 a.m. every single night, But yeah,
my God.
like I said, Thomas, stick up my ass.
You're an investment banker, man.
That's investment
On
banking.
brand.
You have to, whenever you talk to someone and you work in investment banking, you need to talk about how many hours you work that week. If you didn't talk about how many hours you work that week, you're not a banker, dude. You're not a banker. All right.
Did you even work in investment banking if you didn't?
Exactly. Like if we hang out today, I'd be like, dude, I slept at 3 a.m. last night, dude. I'm so tired right now, but I got to do this anyways, It's like, all right, bro, we get it.
We got a deal, bro. We got to close this deal, man. It's coming in.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching our episode of the Yellow Kings podcast. Let us know what your favorite Asian founders are. And let us know, honestly, if you have anyone that you'd like us to bring onto this podcast that's a cool Asian founder, we'd love to chat with them, love to interview them, and just learn more about what it's like being an entrepreneur, but specifically being an Asian entrepreneur. But other than that, we'll talk to you guys all very soon next time.